Hello, and welcome back to my small part of the universe. My name is Hailstone. Today, we will be covering one of my more favorite discoveries in No Man's Sky, a little planet known as Citru. So please, sit back, relax, and let us begin. The universe, a true unending void, one as deep as it is intimidating, as beautiful as it is dangerous. Gravitational forces and deadly radiation keeping much of it silent, yet there are at least a few bastions where life shined beautifully through the etheric nebula, and, as it happens, I have found one that I believe is worth sharing about. Well, at least in my mind, that is. I often fool myself into thinking that I have found the one planet I can truly call home, yet usually I am wrong, slowly growing with disdain and boredom for what I used to find interesting. In all my years as a wanderer, I have always had a hole in my chest, a coldness in my blood. I have heard it referred to as many things. The Korvax call it the cold static, the Viking called it the coward's path, and the Gek merely called it buyer's remorse. Whatever it was, it prevented me from being satisfied, and for a time, I did try to ignore it, but that only made it worse. Often making me not even give new systems a thorough search before I would just leave, annoyed what they seemed to offer at nothing more than a glance. Nothing was satisfying and everything was hollow. At least, that is how it was until I came upon Citru. The planet was unlike any other I had ever seen. The waters were clear blue-green with a purplish tinted sky. Rain constantly poured over vast golden fields of grass that swayed gently in the rain and wind. Atop the golden fields sat dense forests of hardwoods and palmy fronds, and in between these trees sat the most prominent feature of the planet, massive bioluminescent plants that reached for the sky. Some drooped low to the ground, while others towered over the landscape, looming like guideposts in the night. Each one pulsed with a strong light that would race up the trunk, commanding a chorus of colors, and eventually fading into the sundew-like tentacles at the top, making it almost feel like the plant might grab one if ventured too closely. During a rainy, foggy night, from up on a cliff, if one were to look out over the islands of Citru, it would look like a vast ocean of stars both below and above. Much like the damp land above, the ocean also emanates with a soft light. The ocean floor below is covered with an almost evolutionary rock. This mineral starts out as an active euchroite. In this stage, the ammonia in the groundwater seeps up from the ocean floor and begins to interact with the various chemicals in the saltwater, slowly growing a spindly-like rock that almost appears to reach towards the surface of the water, almost aching to be free from the dark depths. Eventually, the euchroite dims, the ammonia, in a sense, running out or evaporating from the mineral formation, leaving behind a spire of salt and oxygen, known in this stage as zacosite. Aside from the spires reaching for relief, the rest of the seafloor is covered in a combination of plants that derive their nutrition from the active light of the euchroite, and others that are carnivores in nature, their roots snatching small organisms or broad arms snatching tiny fish to eat. The weather on Citru is as dynamic as its natural light shows. The landscape is eternally damp and often hot, staying at a stable 94.5 degrees Fahrenheit, though often storm systems will wash over the landscape, rocketing the temperature far past the boiling point above 300 degrees. Though while very uncomfortable for a mere traveler like me, life on Citru has long ago grown used to it, with only a few seeking shelter from such weather. The fauna of Citru is among the calmest I have come across, and the only true predation I have seen on this planet is in the ocean. Bound to the land-type fauna seem to only consist of herbivores, showing that the evolution of these creatures may have long followed the plant life, and is more often than not relaxed, only really running away from unknown creatures that may constitute a threat. The life forms here seem to have descended mainly from some form of reptilian ancestor, as the Skipgi, Futna, and Thilins all have thick, scaled hides that seem to assist them in the survival in this harsh heat. Even the few fur-bearing species, the Croman and the Cornhee, seem to hold on to small features that would indicate usage of scales at one time. As well, there are others that have grown a chitinous hide, mainly comprising of the underwater Leechka and the levitating Sturlu. As stated before, the diet of most fauna is that of plant-based life forms, with a subset being predators or scavengers of only the tiniest of organisms. The thelins and footna are specialized feeders, only feeding on fully grown star bramble as their main, if not only, source of nutrition. Cornhai and Sturlu are also specialized feeders but don't have any competition, feeding on mordite roots and fully bloomed flowers respectively. The only ones who seem to have come into competition are the skipki and the aerial heloki, who both eat the nuts that have fallen off of trees when they are ripe. While the heloki can rely on their natural abilities of flight to quickly swoop down and grab a nut and fly off, the skipki doesn't quite have that advantage, and has evolved a body plan that I can only describe as a reptilian dog, enabling it to rely on quick bursts of speed to secure its much-needed meal from its airborne adversary. As well, on occasion, they seem to be able to emit a vile stench, seemingly to aggravate the sensitive nose of the heloki. Among the last of the land-based fauna walks the gentle Chromorans. Evolving to slightly taller heights than the rest of its brethren, the Chromorans are a generalist feeder, using its height to grab low-hanging leaves of the hardwoods, and are able to eat and digest many sources of food that other creatures choose not to or simply can't. Citru is sparsely populated, only having a handful of outposts and hopeful settlements. Though what keeps this planet from being completely abandoned by commercial enterprise is the abundance of one of its palmy trees, the Spongian Sasabia, whose leaves are psychotropic in nature, leaving the Gek with an excellent opportunity to export a natural, non-toxic psychotrope. Though the profit margins are quite high, finding workers and contractors who are willing to put up with the torrential weather of Citru keeps this planet from being overrun with Nasabia plantations and commercialization. Thank you for watching another one of my videos. I hope this first foray into No Man's Sky type content was interesting enough. If it wasn't, I apologize. Now, excitingly enough, we are a mere roughly 2 weeks away from the Callisto Protocol releasing, so please keep a lookout for that content before too long. So please have an intriguing rest of your week.